I'm Chad, and welcome to another Motovlog. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the first MotoGP race of 2022, which happened just this past weekend. So, if you haven't watched the race yet and want to avoid any spoilers, I'd recommend you go watch the race and then come back to this video and we can talk about it. So round one of the 2022 MotoGP World Championship occurred this past weekend at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar. And it was quite an interesting race that definitely did not go as I had expected it to, for a few different reasons. Watched the race or know the results already, you'll know that Enea Bastianini aboard the Gresini Racing Satellite Ducati took his maiden MotoGP victory, and a huge congratulations to him. That was an outstanding race and performance. Brad Binder on the factory KTM took second place. Also a very impressive ride, especially at a track that KTM has historically not had good luck with. And then Pol Espargaro took third after leading the race for the majority of the laps. So that's a fantastic result from him on the Honda, and really shows just what he and that machine are going to be capable of this season, I think. Very much looking forward to seeing more of what he can do on the RC213V. Now, some of the things that I didn't really expect. All of the 2022 Ducatis did not do very well. Yeah, Jack Miller had to retire. Seemed like he was just having issues with his bike all weekend. Pecco also struggling. And Jorge Martin, who started on pole position, just kind of started falling back. It looked like he was starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm before he was taken out by Pecco, unfortunately. And that in and of itself just is very surprising. Pecco is not the type of rider to make a mistake like that. And, you know, of course, part of me wonders if that was more due to his own fault or the bike's, or maybe just his own doubt in the bike. But nevertheless, it happened. Very unfortunate day for the Desmosedici GP22. I guess it's really just the Ducati GP22 now. I think they've dropped the Desmosedici nomenclature. But yeah, very eventful race. I was very impressed and happy to see Pol Espargaro leading for so long. I've always really liked Pol ever since I started watching MotoGP back in 2014, and it seems like he finally has the right bike underneath him. Although, again, it is very early to say, being this was only the first race of the season. But again, if this is any indication of what's to come with him and Honda, I think it's going to be good and exciting. Also have to throw a shout out to Aleix Espargaro, who finished on the Aprilia in 4th place, which is quite good. Not Aprilia's best result since returning to MotoGP, but pretty close. Great way to start the season, great ride from him, making Aprilia proud. And Marc Marquez too. I'm not a huge Marc Marquez fan. I'm a Rossi fan at heart, always will be, even though he has left the championship. And 2015 is always going to give me just a little bit of heartburn. But you know what? He has gone through a lot these last couple years. It's amazing to see his tenacity and strength throughout his recovery. And I am excited to see if he can be as competitive as he was before his horrendous crash in 2020. But let's take it back just a step. I mentioned I have been a Rossi fan since I first started watching MotoGP in 2014, and this is the first season since then he's not on the grid. Either he retired at the end of last season. If you've been with the channel for a little while, you might recall that I went to the United States Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas in October of last year. Got to see one of his final races. Although his result was not fantastic, it was still great to see him out there, still riding the wheels off of that bike. And that's one of the craziest things, was it wasn't so much that he was slow now, it's just that the rest of the field has gotten so much faster than him. But again, he just was struggling to be competitive, so Totally understand his decision. He had an amazing run in MotoGP and really did a lot for the sport and culture of motorcycling worldwide. He will always be an icon. Now that said, I have been trying to decide who I am going to root for this season, and it's interesting because after this first race, I'm really not sure anymore. Going into the weekend, I was thinking I was going to be a Jack Miller fan, and I know that's very counterintuitive because I am a big proponent for Aprilia and their brand. And no disrespect to Aleix Espargaro or Maverick Vinales, but there's just a couple other riders in the paddock whose styles and just overall character I like a little bit more. One of whom is Jack Miller. Definitely a committed, hard on his sleeve kind of guy, but seems like he knows how to have a good time, prioritizes that, as well as trying to be competitive. That said, I was also thinking about rooting for Pecco. He's definitely a close second going into the weekend. Pecco's a great young guy with a great attitude, and man, he can ride a motorcycle, as we saw towards the end of last season. Still will never forget that first win at Aragon, where he fought with Marc Marquez, and given Marquez wasn't quite at full fitness yet, Marquez threw everything he had at him and just couldn't take the win. So huge hats off, major respect to Pecco. But again, just seeing how Ducati is doing this season, it's having a bit of an influence on who I think I want to root for, which isn't really a good thing because at the end of the day, I think it should really more so just be down to the riders and their own character. But it would be nice to root for somebody who's got a shot at the World Championship. I do really like Fabio Quartararo too, but again, with his machinery, the Yamaha just does not really seem to be competitive, so it will be interesting to see if maybe somehow mid-season they can get a little bit more performance out of the engine like he has asked them to. We'll just have to wait and see. I think I might stick to my Jack Miller fanship, but we'll see. Someone else I was kind of excited to see race this weekend was Maverick Vinales, just because this will be his first full season on the Aprilia, and he had historically had a great run at Losail. He won the race last season, which is kind of crazy because after all the Yama drama in the back half of last year, it's easy to forget that he outright took the win at the first race of the season on that bike. I just don't really know what's up with him and his consistency. He seemed like he was going to be an extremely promising MotoGP world champion back in 2016 and especially early in 2017 when he first switched to the Yamaha and just won races back to back and just finishing up front all the way through the first half of that season. But alas, hopefully he can salvage his MotoGP career. It'll be interesting to see how much beyond his current contract Aprilia will want to work with him if he keeps having results the way that he has in the last few races, obviously of last season as well as this season. I am still hopeful though that he can bring some glory to Aprilia this season, but again, we'll just have to wait and see. I definitely think it's going to be an interesting one, especially with all the new rookies that we have this season. Marco Bezzecchi coming up from Moto2, Raul Fernandez, Remy Gardner, and of course Jorge Martin. He has shown that he has what it takes to win a race, so I wouldn't rule him out either, although again, I think that GP22 needs some more work before it's going to be capable enough to win a world championship in anybody's hands. I also wouldn't rule Franco Morbidelli out. Also a fan of his for a while. Just calm, cool, collect Frankie. But again, Yamaha, give those guys some horsepower. But anyways, I think that's going to wrap up my thoughts on the first race and my outlook for the MotoGP season. Very difficult to say who is going to be world champion this year. We'll just have to wait and see what the next couple races bring. But Enea Bastianini could be a very serious title contender this year. He was definitely showing strength at the end of last year, and he showed that he can win a race. So will be very interesting and should be an excellent season. But who are you rooting for? Do you even watch MotoGP? Let me know down in the comments below. But yes, it is time to wrap this one up. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave me a gentle little click of the like button and considered subscribing for future motorcycling content. I'm a club racer myself on my Triumph Daytona 675R. I love my Tuono too and have a blast on this thing. And I've got my WR250X Supermoto, and I love watching and talking about racing. So let's do it together and be friends. But with that, thanks again so much for watching, and I will hope to catch you in the next one. Until then, later.